I would like to welcome you to the iphiGenia Gender Design Award 2021. I would like to welcome our prize winners who are with us here today. I would like to welcome the iphiGenia jury, the boards and members of the International Gender Design Network, and of course our audience, both digitally and the ones who are able to be here with us, where we're a very small group who can be here today at the MAKK. I'd also like to thank the MAKK, the Cologne Museum of Applied Arts, and Dr. Petra Hesse, its director, for graciously hosting this prize ceremony once more. Even and especially in these complicated times, it's always such a pleasure to be here with you. And we wish, of course, that we could have had, as we've had in the other years, all of you with us here today to celebrate in grand style, but we're very happy that at least we have an audience with us digitally, so at least we could do this hybrid event. My name's Michelle Christensen, and I have the honor of guiding you through this wonderful event tonight, where we'll hear more from our jury and from our prize winners. And first in an award ceremony, and then in a short panel. And then in the end, we'll also talk a bit about an action on gender and drinks. And I'd like to also mention one fantastic person, founding member of the iGDN and of the iphiGenia Gender Design Award, Michael Erlhoff, who unfortunately is for the first time not with us here this year. We lost Michael this year. We miss him very much, and we would like to also dedicate this event to him. So first of all, I would like to welcome Claudia Herrling and Ina from Romer on stage. Claudia Herrling is a board member and the vice chair of the iGDN and the chair of the IPHI Award jury this year. And Ina von Romer is also a board member of the iGDN, and they're both designers here based in Cologne. And they'll tell us a little bit more about the International Gender Design Network and about the iphiGenia Award. So Claudia and Ina, please.
Dear IPHI winners, dear jury, dear guests, and dear IPHI team. We are very happy to welcome you today here in the Museum of Applied Arts of Cologne in Cologne and out there in the digital orbit of our Zoom stream to celebrate the iphiGenia Gender Design Award 2021. Our host, the MAKK, has been supporting this award from the beginning. It really is an honor and a great motivation to come here every year, knowing that our work is supported and carried by this house. We now call the MAKK the home of the IPHI. Thank you very much to be our host, dear Dr. Petra Hesse.
We also welcome Jan-Paul Lahmann from Köln Business Wirtschaftsförderung and Frau Knodel from the city of Cologne. Both of you and your institutions show great interest in our gender and design topics, which are gaining more and more importance for communities and for businesses all over the world. We are very happy to have supporters like you who understand and push the possibilities of transformation by design and even better by gender design. Thank you for being at our side.
This year, we present the IPHI Award for the fourth time. The world has changed a lot since we had the first award celebration back in 2017. The topic of gender design has internationally become more important because, as we all know, the corona crisis revealed major weaknesses in terms of gender equity. We recognize from our growing membership that young designers, as well as social and educational-oriented institutions, want to make a difference, striving for more equality in the design industry. Our network activities even benefit from this technical and digital opportunities that the crisis brought with it.
Thanks to these opportunities, we are really thrilled to celebrate the IFI Award 2021 today with an international audience for the first time. More than 100 guests have registered for the event from Germany, Denmark, the UK, Israel, the United States, Spain, Italy, Mexico, Argentina, Switzerland, Belgium, and of course from Cologne. We are so happy that we managed to set up this live stream event, and of course, we are still a little tense whether everything will work perfectly.
We are putting a lot of heart and soul into empowering gender justice by design and within the design processes. We think it's essential. Gender justice is one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals launched by the UN to create a better future. We want to be part of this transformation process towards this future. We can help shaping a good, diverse, and just future.
If you look around, everything in our everyday life is designed. Designers actually have a lot of impact on our life since their work shapes the world, our actions, our being. Since our everyday world of artifacts is not simply found, but made by us, it is important to understand how this making takes place. Only this opens the possibility to see and to shape the world differently regarding sustainability and equality.
However, design is quite a white and male profession still regarding decision makers and management positions. And designers come with a mindset and values that naturally slip into their designs. Always, it's human, it happens unintentionally. Unfortunately, those mindsets too often lack consideration of a gender-sensitive and diverse view.
Gender sensitivity has still only a niche existence in design education as well as in the professional fields of agencies and economy. We still see too much marketing-driven stereotyping, dramatic unequal gender representation and visibility in many fields of living, huge and even sometimes life-threatening gender gaps in research.
We too stand here as representatives of the International Gender Design Network, or iGDN for short. The non-profit association supports and promotes gender-sensitive design in theory and practice. The network connects companies, institutions, and universities with our gender design experts. Our members are designers, teachers, institutions, and universities, and more if you want. We even have a doctor, a medical doctor, as a member. We also welcome agencies and enterprises of any kind.
The iGDN offers a range of activities. iGDN experts give lectures, keynotes, and workshops on gender-sensitive design topics. They offer consulting and design services. We initiated a call for more gender design education, which more than 150 design professionals have signed already. The form is still open. Please sign if you haven't yet. You can find the link in the chat later.
As you see, we support educational and networking activities, connect young and experienced design professionals, and we are awarding the iphiGenia Gender Design Award. Often we are asked, how can I imagine a gender-sensitive design? People need good examples. With the award, we find the good examples to create role models for design professionals. In the IFI Award indicates the level of what is possible in gender design worldwide. The award has the power to show that there is a great chance for us designers to initiate transformations. Every winner project proves how justice and equality are being pushed forward when we design our living worlds with a high level of gender awareness.
Excellent gender-sensitive professional designs are still rare. They are not so easy to find. They might hide behind professional terms like unique selling point, brand core, or storytelling. Some designers and often companies are not aware that their enterprise product or project has this special attitude of gender-sensitive design. On the other hand, especially more and more young talents work on gender-sensitive design projects very consciously.
To enable participation for young designers, creatives, and freelancers, we decided to make the IFI application low threshold regarding financial policies. Submission is free, nomination is free, and even if you win, you don't have to pay a fee. In the world of design prizes, this is very unusual, if not unique. And this is only possible because we have generous supporters and a complete voluntarily engaged team.
To increase the submission funders, the jury is being supported by the very unique Research Committee International, a group of almost 20 gender design experts who are specifically looking for valuable, exemplary projects all over the world for the benefits of a high-quality outcome of the IFI Awards.
The jury consists of at least one iGDN board member, 3 regular iGDN members, and 1 ArtCI volunteer. So in all, it's always 5. Each year in May, the IFI jury meets to find excellent, promising, and gender-sensitive designs, of course.
Normally, we award 1 work in each category annually. This year, we are making an exception because last year's award ceremony was cancelled due to the pandemic. Also, we had an above average number of submissions in the Young Talents category volition. This is why we are awarding 5 instead of 3 designers this year.
And we suppose those 5 are already urgently waiting for their big moment. So enjoy the ceremony and celebrate with us these impressive personalities and projects that will be presented now.
So thank you, Claudia and Ina. And now to the prizes and the winners. As always, this 4th IFI Gender Design Award will be awarded in 3 categories: evolution, revolution, and volition. Evolution is always awarded to companies, agencies, or initiatives whose work explicitly supports gender-sensitive design in an all-embracive approach and in an evolutionary way. Revolution is given to a product or initiative whose work shows an innovative fusion of gender-sensitive and intelligent design and shows us a revolutionary path. And volition is the award for young design talents, volition standing for will or for power of willing, and responds to the large number of committed student projects that are dealing with gender and design, of which we luckily see more and more every year. And we're going to start tonight with the prize for evolution. So I would like to welcome Professor Dr. Uta Brandes to give this prize. Uta Brandes is, well, I think everyone who deals with gender and design knows who Uta Brandes is, but Uta Brandes is the founder and initiator of the iGDN and was also the holder of the first gender and design professorship in Germany, in Europe, and I believe in the world, at the Cologne International School of Design. So please, Uta Brandes.
Thank you very much to all of you, and thank you, dear Michelle, for introducing me. Okay, let's start with the prize for evolution. And it's really, I think, a wonderful and great and a real role model the jury has awarded. And this is, the Evolution Prize goes to Jessica Walsh from New York. I start with the jury statement for giving that prize to her, and then I'm going to elaborate a little bit on it. The jury gave the following reasons for its decision, quote, Jessica Walsh is not only a courageous and committed entrepreneur, but above all, we are impressed with her creative reflection of social aspects and with her activism. Her work engages the viewer in a playful way with powerful, sensitive design and a fine sense of humor. End of quote. Just to give you a short insight into her life and career, after graduating from Rhode Island School of Design, Jessica Walsh worked, among many other stops, for Pentagram at Print Magazine, and 2010 joined famous Stefan Sagmeister Studios in New York. Already in 2012, she was made a business partner at age, and now it comes, of 25. They rebranded the Sagmeister studio as Sagmeister & Walsh. Since July 2019, she runs her own studio, and now it's only without Sagmeister, now it's called & Walsh. Jessica works primarily on branding, typography, art direction, design, and production across all platforms, as well as on art installations. I mean, when I say primarily, you know, it's about the whole world in a way. Her client list spans technology, fashion, retail, and food. Walsh's personal projects include 12 Kinds of Kindness and 40 Days of Dating, as well as her #SorryIHaveNoFilter image series and merchandise, and the Let's Talk About Mental Health platform. To me, there are 3 especially exciting and relevant justifications to award Jessica with the Evolution Prize. All 3 reasons make her a worldwide role model for being successful while openly and publicly supporting feminism, diversity, women's power. First, 1. It is equally encouraging and felicific to learn from Jessica that you can be extremely successful while designing in an uncommon, unusually, and often even provocative way. It seems that she has succeeded in designing whatever she likes and thinks is appropriate without compromising, not even with huge international companies such as Apple or Google. 2. It's encouraging to learn from Jessica that it is so important to have many more female and non-binary founders and directors of companies and especially agencies. Right now, only 1 to 3% of creative agencies are founded by women and non-binary people. I mean, it's about nothing, you know. It proves to broaden the horizon and opens up the range of qualitative, great, new, and risky designs we haven't seen before. Moreover, we may not even have been aware of the power of female designers, like Jessica Walsh. 3. Most importantly and most impressively, however, it is encouraging to learn that Jessica is fully committed to gender and diversity issues. There are numerous initiatives and approaches she created and/or designed. Due to time constraints here, I highlight only one hugely successful action. It's called Ladies, Wine and Design. By the way, it is not Ladies, Wine and Design, but it's Ladies, Wine and Design. So it's a demand. Ladies, design and wine, wine and design. So this was founded by Jessica in 2015. This is a global nonprofit initiative with now local groups in 280 cities worldwide. Ladies, Design and Wine offer free mentorship circles, portfolio reviews, and talks for underrepresented creatives. A Jessica Walsh quote at the end, quote, "There still is a pay gap for women and an even larger gap for women of color. We cannot talk about feminism without including the varying intersections of privilege and oppression. Feminism should be inclusive of all people, championing equality for everyone, no matter their race, gender, sexual orientation, nationality, age, or ability." And because of, obvious reasons, Jessica cannot be with us today because of the pandemic. She is in New York, maybe watching, who knows? But she sent a wonderful short video with her statement, and this we are going to present right now. Thank you.
everyone. My name is Jessica Walsh. I started a creative agency and design firm in New York City called Walsh. We have over 30 people working on our team, and we work with all types of clients, big and small. So some very large clients such as Google, Apple, or Twitch, to startups like Bombas or Sunwink or Baboon. So at Walsh, we're actually part of the 0.1% of women-owned creative agencies. And while we're very proud of that, we're also very alarmed by this shockingly small number. And there's just simply not enough women or non-binary people in positions of leadership in the creative field. And it's this that inspired us to create Ladies Wine and Design, which is our global nonprofit community, which aims to champion and mentor underrepresented people in our field. And we have chapters in over 300 cities worldwide. As a global community, we work actively to shine a spotlight on women and non-binary people through our social media community and through our events. And the stories that have come out of this community have been really incredible. We've heard people who have gotten new jobs or raises through motivation that they got from these events, or women who met at these communities and went on to start design firms together, or women who got the courage to confront sexism at their workplace, and much more, many more stories like this. And that's what really motivates us each day to keep going with this organization. I found that one of the greatest joys of being a creative is getting to work on meaningful work like this that connects to other human beings or attempts to give back to the world in some way. So at our studio at Walsh, we do try to spend at least 25% of our time on projects like this. And we've worked in many different topics and areas, such as climate change or mental health, to these diversity and equality issues. So I'm very honored and humbled to receive the iphiGenia Gender Design Award. I think it's really important to shine a spotlight on these gender-related topics and work. I know the past winners have served as incredible role models and educators to so many in our field. So it's really a huge honor. I want to thank everyone, and I hope everyone has an incredible evening. Bye.
So since
As she
Jessica
can't be with us, we have to pack the trophy. You know?
putting this in the post to New York without dropping it.
Yes. And then we will send it to New York. Okay, where do I put it?
Down there. to off. Off to New York she goes. So on that note, we would like to show you a very short clip, which is about the wonderful trophy, which you just saw shortly, made by Israeli designer MAKK, a very special handmade trophy representing shifting gender and transformation.
In the design of the iGDN trophies, I was inspired by a small and fascinating creature, the starfish. They have the ability to change their sex within their lifetime, and even more than once. They adapt their sex to the conditions around them, like water temperature, food availability, and breeding needs. I developed the form and the surface of the trophies based on the shape and texture of the starfish. And by embedding this visual reference into the design, I wanted to point out that our perception of gender and sex is very much affected by social norms, and that even in nature, these concepts are much more complex and fluid than we realize. And with this strong message from Starfish to all of us, I want to congratulate this evening's winners who inspired us with their successful and innovative designs. Congratulations.
Okay, so our next award this evening goes to the category of Revolution. And I would like to invite Florian Conradi to the stage. Florian's also a year-long member of the IFI jury, professor for open science and critical design at the Technische Universität Berlin, and has a research group for critical maker culture at the Berlin University of the Arts. Most importantly, is a long-time committed feminist designer. Florian?
Thank you so much, everybody out there. It's always so strange to speak to real people and the digital people. All of the categories are my favorite, but this one especially because it's called Revolution, and it is what we need mostly in design more than ever. And it is my honor to give the iphiGenia Gender Design Award 2021 in the category Revolution to Super from Berlin, which is really wonderful because they are un/definable. They do so much, so I could probably talk for 2 hours about their diverse and wonderful activistic design approaches. With us today, we are so happy to have Julia Kloiber and Anna Niedhardt with us, who came all from Berlin to join us today. And actually, Julia, I met 7 years ago. I don't know if you remember. I remember very well you were talking about open data at a colloquium at the Berlin University of the Arts, and I was sitting really in the back, and I am so glad that I see you 8 years later again. So I'm very happy about that. Now I come to the jury statement, why we were so thrilled by Super from Berlin. The committee of the iphiGenia Award unquestionably found Super a deep enrichment to foster the intersection of culture, feminism, and technology within the current discussion on digitalization, gender, and diversity. The committee was overwhelmed by the overall attitude and comprehensive gender sensitivity of the initiative, as well as the evoking design and communication which Super raises and addresses feminist asterisk perspectives on current technological developments and futures. And if you think about the big five, I won't mention them because I don't like them, who are creating the visions for us, I think Super is for us creating, or I would call it counter visions of how we can critically examine the technological futures. And Super as a lab, and most importantly as a community, stands for deep diversities of issues and projects challenging existing paradigms. It's countless projects they're doing, from initiating the Feminist Tech Fellowship and making collective discussion spaces like the virtual screening Coded Bias, to publishing the Ding magazine. They foster a community of female, trans, and non-binary people in the fields of arts, science, technology, activism, and politics. And I think you're crossing so many categories which are endless, which is wonderful. Within their playful, bold, and now also to the design, the D/constructive, direct, and evoking visuals, they blur and provoke the normative field of visual design. And in the intersection of design and research, the cultural field needs more initiatives like Super. We need more of your wonderful approach and attitude. So I deeply honor to warmly welcome Julia Kloiber to receive the award of Revolution.
Thanks so much for the nice words. This is the first ever award that the young nonprofit Super Lab is receiving. It's really exciting for us. the team is watching in Berlin, and I'd like to share this award with the super community, but also with Rainbow Unicorn. And Anita is here. We've been collaborating many years on design projects, and we wouldn't be there design-wise without them and without the collaboration. And receiving a design award as the first ever award is something really special for us, because what we're trying to do with design is to bring some female feminist joy into this world. And with feminist joy, I mean celebrating the feminists who were there before us, whose ideas we're building on, by celebrating our communities that we're embedded in, by fighting together for our rights, and by also joyfully, pleasurably enjoying the wonderful beings that are around us, that we're in this world together, like-minded folks that surround us. Thank you very much to the jury for the very kind and humble words. And thank you so much for the International Gender Design Network for hosting this ceremony, for spotlighting gender design projects. And I'm very much looking forward to the other awardees. So congratulations to everyone who won something tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Florian and Julia. So last, but everything else but least, we now have our winners of the category Volition. So we'll be moving to the next generation, I wanted to say, but that makes you sound much older than you are, so I'm not going to say that. And this year, we will have, as was mentioned by Claudia earlier, 3 prize winners in this category. This both based on the large amount of brilliant student projects and what we might also observe as a new collectivity or next collectivity in design and activism within the communities of young critical designers. And therefore we thought it would be even nicer to have 3. So we will have, I say this in advance, you saw the video before from Naama, we have 1 trophy, 3 winners, and 2 other trophies, which are incredibly handmade, are on their way by post from Israel and will be given to the other 2 winners too, just in case you're wondering. And to introduce the first winner, I would like to invite Claudia Helling to come back on stage.
Hello again. I'm very pleased to present the following project that has won the Volition Prize of the iphiGenia Gender Design Award. With her bachelor's thesis at the Folkwang University of Arts in Essen, Hannah Wette has presented a handbook that, for the first time, sheds light on gender-sensitive typography. She has thus succeeded in producing an outstanding work which is fortunately has already found a partner for publication in the wonderful Form Verlag. When the jury met in May 2021, the printed work was still dreams of the future. It was important to us to support this project with this award and to give it visibility, even though it was still on its way to realization. An investment in the future, and thus symbolic exactly for what the iphiVolition stands for. A note for international audiences. Linguistic gendering has a special quality in the German language, different from English. Since in the German language, people, professions, positions are by default referred to with the generic masculine. All other genders are linguistically merely included, mit gemeint. So studies show that this generic masculine makes women and other genders, inter, trans, and genderqueer people invisible. For not all genders will be imagined equally in the minds of the people listening. Whoever hears, and now I just switch to German, Arzt oder Richter oder Lehrer, Pilot, Doctor, Professor, judge, teacher, pilot, automatically imagines the man rather than another gender, especially because there's a feminine form that specifically refers to women, but then only to them. And of course, this has something to do with hierarchies. Who do we imagine in important positions? And is about visibility and recognition, basic feminist topics. So while this debate about gendered German language is still heated and consumes lots of energy from all of us, something beautiful happened. Something we from iGDN, who teach at several universities and design schools, have observed very often. The younger generation, the design students, are way ahead of us. They are already there. And while people are still arguing about gendered language, yes or no, Hannah Witte has already turned to the question into the how and into the doing. How can design, and most of all typography, add to the necessity to make all genders visible? How to design texts, keep them readable, accessible, and gender sensitive as well? And as the field of typography itself is still a historically male-dominated field, though this has fortunately already changed as well, it is all the more a pleasure for the jury to award a work of typography. So the jury statement is, Typo Hacks, the handbook for gender-sensitive typography in the German language, unanimously impressed the jury because of its topicality. The work provides a comprehensive introduction to both the current methods of gendering and the discourse on anti-discriminatory language. Understanding the use of gender-sensitive language as a creative, typographical task is an important and new perspective for designers. The work addresses the topic holistically. In addition to practical examples, it deals with current questions about the power of language and the political responsibility of designers, thus providing impulses for the design practice as well as for the current debate. So, the IFI Volition 2021 goes to Hannah Witte and her work Typo Hacks. Hannah, please come up to stage.
Yeah, thank you so much for your nice words. First of all, I would like to thank you for the award and the organization of this great event. I think it's super important that this format with a focus on gender and design exists, and I'm very happy that the topic of gender-sensitive language and typography is getting more visibility through this. And I want to say many thanks for the team of the IFI Award. And then I would like to thank Nina and Anton from the Form Publishing House, who worked on the project together with me the last year. And yeah, at the end, I also want to thanks to Christian, who supported me on all levels, the whole project. Thank you.
So to introduce our second winner of the Volition Prize 2021, I would like to ask Florian Conradi back on stage.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I have a great honor and pleasure to give the second prize of the iphiGenia Gender Design Award in the category of Volition, which goes to Marie Dietze for practice-based design research work, assembling fragments, exploring feminist modes of hacking through design. And I'm reading the jury statement. I do know Marie for a couple of years. Then our paths just split a month ago, and now we're here again, which is wonderful. The committee of the IFI Award immensely appreciates Marie's work, which was carried out in the context of her master's at the FH Potsdam and her work at the Berlin University Arts, the Weizenbaum Institute. Working in close collaboration with fellow hacktivist and software programmer Marie Kochsig, the work raises topics of designing for the context of sexual health in both a critical and playful manner. Their workshops, Let's Spit Hormones and Make Your Own Menstrual Cup, not only speaks about what gets made for gendered bodies, but about who gets to be part of the process, reclaiming control of both body data, self-knowledge, and digital literacy. As a participatory do it together approach, it incites feminist attitudes towards open hardware and open design. And what I really appreciate about Marie's work, when she opens up her workshops, she really opposes the idea of target audience or specific research groups. She really opens up her workshops to anybody who has the concern, no matter which profession, which attitude, if designers or not, and that is really wonderful and very much needed in research. The work evokes a space for tackling taboo issues while raising debates on intimate technologies, body sovereignty, and design beyond essentializing gender norms. Design for her as feminist hacking displays a tactic, and here especially, of critical collectivity, bending the boundaries of power through the process of open-sourced, common-based making and debate. So I'm really, really happy to welcome Marie, and this prize goes to you and to your whole community.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Florian. Thanks, Michelle. Both supervised me during this master topic. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk right now, actually. So once more, I thank you so much, and Michelle, also my third supervisor, Alexandra from FH Potsdam. I thank her very much as well. And most of all, of course, Marie Kochsig, who's my partner in crime and dear, dear friend. I thank you very much, and I'm really, really humbled for this prize, and sitting here now next to Julia, Hannah, and also Laura, who's coming in a bit. And thanks so much, and I'm looking forward to this evening.
And then for the last prize within our category Volition, to introduce this, I would like to invite Tanya Godlevsky on stage. And Tanya is also a founding member of the International Gender Design Network, a long-year jury member as well, and a freelance creative director in the field of design and pop culture, especially pop music. So, Tanya?
Everything went right until now, so I'm a little bit curious if this will stay. Good evening, dear people, real and virtual attendees. I'm very happy and, of course, delighted to give the award in our category Volition, the last one today. Just in paper, as mentioned before, but the real trophy will come later on. And when I started to look at this brilliant work that I will award today, I noticed that I figured out again that I'm a little bit, I fall out of the grid sometimes. Because you see, I love chips. That's not very unusual, but I mean, I love real chips, like the potato chips, very spicy, jalapeno, for example, so I really love that. But unfortunately, these chips are for men, I figured out. I should stick to the lentil chips, for example. They are dried by air and not boiled in fat, and so they are made for women. So if I follow the marketing strategies that somebody invented for me, That's why there are ornaments on the packaging and also aphorisms, because that's what women want to read. Yeah. So, the outstanding work, Chips and Sheets, about the distortion of norms by the Swiss designer and researcher Laura Hensler is dedicated to this binary, counter-gendered and reductionist coding using the example of the chips. It is her master thesis, which was written in the Trends and Identity department at the Zurich University of the Arts. I would like to take the opportunity to thank Professor Bittenstetter from the Trends and Identity department at the ZHDK for submitting this important work to us. Many thanks, dear Bitten. The jury was convinced by this clever work from the first moment. Eating represents a culturally shaped and culture-shaping action. Social roles with their gender constructions and consumer behavior are interwoven in it. Using the example of chips, Laura Hensler has investigated the influence of the parameter gender on the way we eat, what, where, and how. To do this, she conducted analysis in various areas. On the one hand, the packaging design and the marketing strategies that I mentioned before. What colors, fonts, terms, and imagery are used to sell chips, and to whom? Who's addressed? In further analysis, Laura Hensler devoted herself to the scenic representations of chip consumption in films, series, and popular culture, for example, also in music videos. In which spaces of action do which legitimized behaviors apply? And for whom? When is eating with fingers okay? Obviously, I know that chips are always eaten by fingers, but I mean, like, when is it okay to eat with the fingers? So that's a question. When is it even expected? And for whom again? Who eats chips and when? The gender-specific codes that were highlighted and the cultural grammar that goes with them exaggerated and ironically translated into new products that we see here. A 6-piece cutlery set. That's what she designed. It critically examines culturally and socially established eating behavior. For example, the instruments are used to maximize the volume of smacking sounds, the smacking sounds, to scale chewing processes, like a magnifying glass that you see over there, or to provoke an extremely wide opening of the mouth. The jury is of the opinion that this decontextualization of eating chips makes it possible to see and experience a new and open view of the encodings it contains. In this context, the choice of the chip as an artifact for artificial and omnipresent consumption is very, very clever. Everyone knows chips. Almost everyone loves chips. Chips comfort, chips bring people together. Yeah, well, and chips make fat, but let's not mention that. They are omnipresent in everyday and popular culture, which makes them an ideal object of research. They can be used to identify and reveal spaces of action, everyday worlds, realities of life, and assigned role models and the gender constructions linked to them. The jury thinks a brilliant choice. Laura Hensler is an outstanding designer and thinker who shows with her work, Chips and Sheets, how the smallest everyday phenomena like eating chips can open up big questions about gender norms, identity constructions, and the design of society. Social reality and the gender constructions it contains are translated into a product that ironically and critically makes the codifications visible and tangible. The jury is convinced and is delighted to present this beautiful trophy to Laura Hensler. Congratulations.
Jetzt nur wirklich gerne knuddeln, wir dürfen ja nicht.
Well, thank you so much, Tanya, for these wonderful words. It's an honor to be here. I actually never thought that I would win a prize with eating chips, so here I am. It's a great honor. I would like to say thank you to all the people who were somehow part of this project. Also, of course, to all the people who are part of this IPHI award. And I would also like to congratulate all the other winners for their inspiring and important projects. And I'm also super thrilled to spend a unique evening with all of you. Thank you very much.
So, to the short discussion part of, we have enough microphones, that's a good start. The part of this evening, I would like to, from the beginning now, encourage, please, everyone who's here and has questions, you can just shout out and we will give you the word. I would like to encourage also the winners tonight who have questions to each other to please ask them, but also to our digital audience, if you have questions, please post them in the chat. And as you can see, Tanya is on it, trying to be on it.
Yeah, give me time.
So give her a minute, but please do post your questions in the chat. So I'm just going to start off with one question. I'm going to start off with a question to Julia. So, or in general, from what we could see tonight, I think, so feminism is always, of course, in transition and is an expanding work in progress process of rethinking and doing and making. And right now we're seeing even further inciting movements at the moment. So from cyber feminism turned into techno-feminism, we're now seeing movements of data feminism, of digital feminism, of glitch feminism, of all of these concepts coming up. And for me, I think feminist hacking, we've seen a lot of this represented tonight. For me, Superlab embodies and reflects a lot of these attempts of a new mode of collective tech activism and maybe feminism as well in a new way. So I was wondering if you could tell us a few words about how Super started and what space it's trying to provide within this sort of explosive movements right now, environment.
It's interesting that you mention all these different feminisms, because I think our work very much builds on all of them and quotes many of them. So for us, we're working at this infamous intersection of tech and society and looking at inequalities in tech and also beyond. Like when you look at tech, there's so many inequalities that are reinforced or that are invisible. Like if you just trace back like the source materials and who sources the materials and from where we source the materials and all the invisible labor that's been made invisible. We often call it invisible labor, but it's not invisible. It's been made invisible, that goes into AI and all the buzzwords that we throw around, the emerging technologies that we try to use in products in order to solve problems, like also looking closely at like, what can we actually solve with tech and what can we not solve with tech? So what's bigger, like what are bigger systemic issues? And before drifting way too far off into the theory, maybe some practical examples. So we've been very much focusing on how can we not only frame our work around the dominant narratives that are around us, like surveillance, capitalism, that is kind of inescapable, but how can we change the narratives? How can we develop them further? How can we envision and imagine what inclusive and diverse digital futures look like? And whose perspectives do we need in order to envision these futures? And we just published a magazine. We did a fellowship program this year with 12 projects from across Europe, from Hammam Radio, an Arab feminist radio project, to SIP, a trans community developing tools for voice messaging and for voice translation. And we've just published a magazine called Ding Magazine that you can read online under dingdingding.org, with all the narratives and possible futures, envisioned futures, but also going down to the systemic level. So what are systemic issues that we're facing? And I think what's been quite fun to observe is that even with a quirky nonprofit brand like Superlab, it's possible to work with German ministries. So ministries that approach us, the Ministry of Justice, that we then work on, like, what can our digital public spaces of the future look like, for example, digital spaces that allow informed consent and so on. And how did we start out? We started out as a meetup series in 2015 because we figured we wanted and needed more spaces for cis women, for trans women, trans men, non-binary folks to meet up, to network, because we would meet at these tech conferences or digital rights events, and we would always be in the minority there. And creating our own space gave us time to get to know each other and reflect on some of the topics that we're interested in.
Yeah, thanks, because I found, Florian mentioned this as well in the presentation, but I think there's this this concept of whatever we call it, community, collectivity, commons, which is in an interesting way underlying the activism and these evocations right now. Marie, maybe that's also something you can talk a little bit about with your community of making intimate tech, what that is, because I think it's also this creating the space which is missing right now to bring people together who are doing what they're doing, or I think it's also what this prize tries to do, to bring those people into one space that they even can have that conversation and learn from each other's practices.
Yeah, what is the question?
Just maybe you can tell a little bit about because the second step after the project that you did was basically initiating also, co-initiating a little community.
Yeah, that's true. So as my project that was also introduced here is about sexual health, and due to the contact or working together with Marie, who, by the way, developed an open source menstrual tracking app, download it. And through this contact, I realized there's a lot of people actually around who are concerned with sexual health and menstrual health. And it is very fruitful, especially to connect and to conspire and talk about also the boundaries or barriers that we're actually facing, and creating a collective safer space as far as possible, and also constantly negotiating this space is one way for us to also move forward. And so it's a virtual community. So we started it during Corona times already. An international community that makes it, of course, easier when it's virtual. And in this matter, it's mainly artists, designers, it's researchers, it's people from the software programming area, but every one of us is in some way engaged with making intimate tech. That's why our community is called MIT. And it's our place to exchange on these topics, because we're lacking these kinds of spaces in our everyday life, I guess.
And I would like to ask, it's to both of you, or to maybe all of you and all of us, because the one thing is that we have to build the space where, of course, it can be possible to act, but the other thing is that we need to have the possibility to show it to all the others, so to be known that this space is existing, because I often observe that there are people working on the same topic, and they have the same aims and they have the same problems, obviously, but it's still difficult to come together, for example, in such a way that we do it today, but to have like the possibility to be heard and to be seen. How do you try to go out to the world, and how much energy do you put in let all the other people know? And maybe the question to all of us, how can we go harder into the world? Of course, I think that maybe the pandemic situation was good for some of our projects because of the international possibility to have like the horrible Zoom meetings the whole time, but it was possible to talk and it was possible to meet. So, but what can be done to be known more? And how do you do it in your daily life? How much effort do you put in this? How many %? Yes, it's open, so you can just.
Trying not to spend too much time on social media, but if you spend too much time on it, like immediately feels depressing, right? So
yes, I know.
we were lucky that in Berlin we were able to rent an office for a rather affordable price, because people who are renting this office out to us on Moritzplatz, like a central location that would usually not be like accessible for non-profit organizations, the people who are renting it out, they keep telling us we rather rent it out to a non-profit organization than to the next Adidas pop-up store, because it's a very attractive location. And what we are trying to do with the space is to share it with others, to open the doors and be like, hey, host your feminist film night here, host a workshop here. We're doing a series called Martial Arts and Carbs, so a feminist self-defense course, where after the self-defense course, you go and eat carbs together. So also by like developing events that you always wanted to have and go to, and try to find like-minded people through putting these events out there. And I mean, also the event today here, like meeting new people who are working in the space, is a great opportunity even in times of COVID. But now I'm curious to hear what the others are doing.
Laura, do you maybe want to, oh, sorry, yeah?
Yeah, at my old university in Essen, I had this group with a friend of me. It's called Gender at Folkwang. And that was really nice for me to connect with other students who also work with the topic, with gender and design. And yeah, we organized like talks and workshops. We also had one talk one time with Uta Brandes. Yeah, and that really helped me. And I think right now at my new university, I also find a bit like a community like this, and I would love to work on a group like that again. Yeah.
I think for me, if I can take, for me, it's super interesting and super important to meet personally. And I just felt again today how important it is to meet in person, to see you, to have a coffee together, to walk through the city. And I really missed that during these 2 years. And I just felt that we actually have to try to do this more often, to have these talks, to have these comings together, and yeah, to just try to meet and to see each other physically. This is something that is super important for me, at least.
I wanted to ask you, it relates back to this question overall. It's a very interesting department that you studied at the ZHDK, how that played a role. Was that also, I mean, is it more like an interdisciplinary community? Are they mostly designers? What kind of community was that to create this kind of project within?
It is super interdisciplinary. This is like one of the strengths, I would say, that this specialization has. So our class was super diverse, super mixed together. So I was studying with designers, with scenographers, with people with a classic academic university background. And this, for me, was super interesting to talk with people with completely different glasses, with a completely different view on things. So for me, this was for sure one quality of my studies. Yeah.
Because it's always an interesting border, I think, what Tanya's also asking, between, like, there is the space out there, there is the commercial internet, right? And everyone can be on it, and we know who owns it and all of that jazz. And then there's creating the communities, which are also other spaces for other people to come together. So it's more a question of how to find the people who would like to join into these other communities as a first step, before maybe necessarily even spending this large percent of time in communicating outwards what's happening right now. It's also just about creating those spaces. So it's always weighing up, right? How much is it communicating within? How much is, you know, we have also the movements right now, radical servers, feminist internets, all of these things where people are creating communication platforms, Discord groups, things which are also just about bringing people together, maybe even globally, to discuss gender issues, which are not necessarily about the education of the everyone yet. Yes, to even have the conversation.
But
right?
Thank you that you mention education, because that's what I'm wondering the whole time, because as mentioned before, a few of you just were influenced or inspired by, for example, Uta Brandes coming to the Hochschule and giving a lecture or a workshop or something like that. I'm also very often invited, a lot of the members of the iGDN, of course, too. So we go out to the universities, and we are giving lectures, and we meet amazing students who do brilliant jobs and are very far in their thoughts. And we are still wondering, so we from the iGDN are still wondering why there are so many professorships in the design schools to bring the gender topics in the universities. Do you? Yes. There's hardly anyone who said so many. Oh no, I'm sorry. No, that would be that would be the best case. No, we are there just to. We are invited, but just a short time, but not in the professorships. So that's, we always wonder, and we are happy that that's why we had like 3 Volition prizes, because there are so many projects happening in the universities. How do they come? Is it from the students themselves, or is it from the projects that people from the outside bring to the universities? Or how do you just get the power and the idea to work on these projects in the universities?
Hannah? How did it happen?
I think one side was that I had a professor for gender studies at my university. I mean, it was a theoretical class, but since he joined our university, I started to work much more on that topic, and I always combined my practical classes with his theoretical classes. Yeah, but the other side, I think it's just my personal topic, and yeah, like with the book, it was something I really missed. I actually wanted to write something about gender-sensitive language and typography, and then I found out, okay, I can't find any books about it, and that was my motivation to do it by myself. Yeah.
Laura?
I think for me, like the first input to, or the motivation to do this project was actually that I was walking around in the city and I was confronted with these advertisements of these horrible food advertisements with these horrible images and pictures and language. So this was for me like the first impulse to say, okay, there's something to deal with and there's something to change. But what I can say about maybe about my master is that I proposed this project, and I came with the idea of the project, but I was of course always supported, and I had a super nice field of teachers, of mentors that were super fit and that were able also to give mentorings and to teach me and to tell me where I can find more interesting things. So for me, the people in the master, the teachers in the masters, were extremely important, of course, also for this project.
Yes, I think that trends and identity is a department where this topic is has a very high. Thank you. Yes, so this is a very good example because there are a lot of projects happening around this, and yes, as I mentioned before, Bittenstädter, I think there are a few projects. Maybe the next years we will have like more Preisträgerinnen and Preisträger from the ZHDK, for example.
I mean, the beautiful thing is also what happens with you all afterwards, right? So we're of course parallel to trying to get the design professorship, design, gender and diversity and so on, professorships into the universities, also trying to create the spaces for you afterwards, right? And one thing is, I think we've seen different examples of that today, you know, going into the market. Marie just shifted from being in a research position, you know, after studying, going into a research position, going into the market and messing with that, which is great. Parallel, I think exactly spaces like Super Lab, giving the fellowships and creating somewhere where, you know, you can go industry, you can go further on in science, you can also go into activism, into art, into, you know, these in-between spaces. And I think that it's very important right now, and I think that's what we're also trying to do and also bring forward with places, institutions like the International Gender Design Network, is both what do we do within this education time and where do we go from there, and how can we step by step build this infrastructure that we can take over the world. But Ina's giving me a hand sign. Is there a question in the chat?
Yes. Oh, thank you. We have, I'm the chat girl. I forgot. Congrats to the winners. Oh, it's. I have a question for Marie, if it's possible, because she works in the field of sexual health, and it's a field in which I want to work as a designer. I'm a product designer, and I'm doing my master thesis at Politecnico of Milano about how sexuality is still a big taboo, especially in Italy. Das ist eine sehr lange Frage.
Yeah, that's okay.
Ich gehe weiter. In her school, they didn't have proposed sex ed classes. I really want to develop a sex toy, and sometimes it seems impossible because we have a very little literature about designing sex toys, and the better designed products seem very similar sometimes. I would ask, in your opinion, which is a key to find the right starting point to develop an innovative product if a precise factor is more important than another one, or how to make a proper research about how to differentiate a product of this kind? Sorry for the long question. Okay.
It's a great question,
I'm
though,
fine.
in general.
Congrats to all the winners again.
So can we summarize the question as...
Because again, I didn't get the question.
Okay, I'm going to try to, I hope I do you justice. I would maybe try to summarize the question as, okay, working with, so if you take developing, something like developing sex toys, which I think is very concrete and very important in design right now. You can obviously talk a little bit about that. That's what Marie does right now. But it's true, the literature is missing in this. And, you know, there's sex ed educations. So from the education about sexual health to the literature, if one wants to even go into that as a product designer, what are the most, maybe some tips on like what's important, or what are the most important factors to take in consideration, or what are some places one could look towards? Would one want to do that for one's masters? Join your community, for instance.
Sure, yeah, join the MIT on Discord. Maybe I can somehow type it in later.
Yes, she mentioned that she's following you on LinkedIn, so maybe you can...
Okay, great. Okay, I'm only there every 4 years, but okay, yes. No, for sure, I mean, it sounds stupid, but for sure there's this sex Twitter, I mean, very also feminist sex tech Twitter is a good way to go. Sex School Hub is, for example, a specific It's actually a person, but they're very involved with also encouraging people in this field. And for sure, talking to people who want to use toys, who are curious about this. Don't do this on your own. I mean, also for your personal mental sake, but in any kind of master thesis, I mean, but also developing products for people needs people, and you should make great, fun, exciting workshops on what people like and what they enjoy. Yeah, but I don't know how it is in Italy, but I would also even in Germany, I think it really needs a private, intimate space to discuss these things, so people feel safe and happy and also want to open and speak honest about these very, very intimate issues.
So like Sex-Stammtisch.
For example, yeah, sounds already a little bit.
Yes, but yeah, because of the word Stammtisch, but I mean, I really mean it just to meet up and okay, we have a topic we want to talk about and we want to talk about it seriously, but here is a space we can do it.
But that's exactly why there are these communities, right? Like Making Intimate Tech with people like Marie Dietze, Marie Kochsig, Alice Stewart, who makes DIY sex toys in order to learn about from body literacy to STEM education. How are things even built? How could you build them differently? What could they even be? For whose pleasure? You know, there's so much, this is a beautiful example again of community. There's so much expertise out there, so many angles, so many sciences, from serious biosciences and gynecology to design and art. And when people come together and can have a forum to discuss this, then suddenly there's more literature and more examples and more design and technology than you think.
So we have like the ladies, wine, sex and dinner. So
can I add one more thing? Also, maybe it's also don't try to build the perfect toy. Don't ever try to build the perfect thing. Just really play around with materials, and as I said, also always look on what each specific person wants, and maybe then it's like everyone is able to build their own toy. Yeah, so a lot of playing around. I think this is what toys are about, and also sex toys.
So she already answered again, and she said it would be awesome to organize a safe space to talk directly to people. Thank you. So
we're looking forward to that submission next year.
Yeah,
please.
I'm curious.
No, we're very curious to see it.
But we also have a few mentions here, people who are saying congrats to the winners. I think we need more projects like this, more examples of how gender can be embedded in design thinking.
Agreed. Do we have any last questions from the live audience? Is there anyone that would like to? Because otherwise, I would say, from the time, thank you so much to all our winners and all our panelists and to our audience. And then I would like to invite Ina to come up on stage and shortly tell us about the action of gender and drinks.
Yes, we had gender and eating chips already, so now we need the drinks. But first of all, I would like to say something to Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. You did a great job today.
Thank you, Ina.
And I think you should at least know, because you introduced yourself, but not in the whole way I would do. You didn't. So I will do this late, but I will. This is Professor Dr. Michelle Christensen, and she's professor at Einstein Center Digital Future and at the Technical University in Berlin. And we are very happy that you moderated today our show, and we're proud to have you as a member in our network, as well as all of you are here as well. Thank you. Thanks a lot. But now, we're not in the end, because the end of this party here is, or this ceremony is always a party. or it should be a party, and it couldn't be this year. So we thought, how can we have the idea of networking? How can we kind of get it into the show so you can kind of feel what the IFI and our award evening is about? And when we were planning our first virtual broadcasted award ceremony, we thought how to create a fun and meaningful and promising show, and what can it be that kind of gets the atmosphere of the celebration of happiness, relief, and joy afterwards, especially. So we thought, well, it might be a cocktail that is a symbol for this feeling. And then we started a research about drinking. And I could fill a whole evening. Maybe that's another event we could broadcast next time. But today I would just stick to the sexism in this cocktail industry that we found. Just let me name a very few names of cocktails you might have heard or not, maybe even drunk, I don't know. But, sex on the beach, everyone knows. But there's also leg spreader, angel's tit, slippery nipple, and more like that. So this really shows a real malaise in the cocktail industry, I would say. And we thought we should change this, or start a change. So we asked our wonderful sponsor, Gin B, to help. Gin B, I have to show you. I don't know if you can see, or if the camera can kind of a bit close it up a bit. Gin B, that's a gin made in Cologne, and special one with the flavor of tonka bean and the flavor of hibiscus. And she's been sponsoring us from the first year on. So this year we really had a lot of fun to think about our after show concept. And Gin B came up with a conker nut, hibiscus, tonka, lime, ice and vanilla cocktail, but nameless. And the name we asked our audience for, to find a new gender-sensitive name. And guests and staff today here voted. We had some entries, quite good ones, I would say. And the people who are here today voted which name should be the best one. And the 3 best names will get this little Gin B cocktail kit to make the cocktail at home. So the cocktails are not here yet, but we will have them later, I would say. Hopefully, they're in work, I know. But first, maybe what stands for a festive, happy celebration. And we have the names here. I see. Yes, I can even read what people wrote. So we have 3 winners. And the first one, number 3, the name was Könille Litonka, the new name for a drink with coconut, vanilla, lime, and tonka bean. Könille Litonka, and it goes to Leonie Teurer from Leipzig. Congratulations. The second one is a suggestion from Cologne, from Claudia Kühn in Cologne, and let me read what she wrote. Her name, she suggested, is Queen's Elysium. It makes no difference whether you feel more like a queen or a king, or somewhere in between. A queen, you may always feel exceptional. Elysium is a mythological place of recreation for heroes, can also be understood as a synonym for heaven or a state of great happiness. With Queen's Elysium, you allow yourself a very special moment. I would say this is what we are going to do. Thank you, Claudia Kühn from Cologne. And the first prize, without any comment and really the most votings, is Ginder. It's from Matthias Waldorf aus Münster. Thank you, Matthias. Very well done. The cocktail should come on stage, but maybe we could kind of have an end and stand up, and you will be served. Yeah. Yeah.
I think with that we can say thank you so much for everyone who joined us tonight here live at the MAKK and digitally out there. It was a pleasure, and just see you next year. Here come the drinks.
Yeah.
To the winner.